I'm going to call your next witness. All right, sir, come on up and be sworn in right here.
Hello. Can you please state and spell your first and last name?
Nathan, Duncan, Nathan-C-A-N.
Thank you. Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Walk around the court reporter up there.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Duncan. I'm a detective with the Chandler Police Department.
How long have you worked for the Chandler Police Department?
25 years.
And I want to talk to you about an incident that occurred in Chandler, Arizona on July 11th of 2019 involving Lori Vallow and Alexander Cox, okay? At that date, did you go to Lori Vallow's residence at 5531 South Four Peaks Drive in Chandler, Maricopa County, Arizona?
I did.
Do you see Lori Vallow in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point her out and identify what she's wearing?
She's seated at the defense table, blonde hair and a gray sport jacket.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
Good job.
While you were at that residence, were photographs taken of the vehicles?
Yes, they were.
Was there a 2018 Jeep Wrangler located in the garage of Lori Vallow's residence?
Yes, there was.
Showing the defendant exhibits 81 through 89. Do you recognize those as photographs of that Jeep Wrangler from Lori Vallow's residence in Chandler, Arizona on July 11th of 2019?
I do.
State will move to admit 81 through 89.
We do have an objection. Could we have a sidebar on that, Your Honor?
Okay.
So the state will move to admit 81 through 89.
Without waiving any objection by the defendant, those exhibits are admitted.
So Detective, were photographs taken of the vehicles at this residence on July 11th of 2019?
Yes, they were.
And inside the garage itself, did the Chandler police photograph a Jeep Wrangler?
We did.
I'm going to put, so Exhibit 81 and 80, are we seeing sort of the side, and then 82 the front of that Jeep?
Yes.
When we get to 83, so let me pull it back a little more. And then a close-up, is that the license plate that was on the Jeep at Lori Vallow's house on July 11th with a Texas plate of LWD 0997?
Yes, it is.
And 85 as well, and it's not shown as well. Can I have my paralegal just take one of these up there?
Yes.
85. Looking at the photos without the glare of the Elmo, were you able to kind of see into the vehicle through the tint?
You can slightly see into that, yes.
Okay. And so, for instance, you could see shapes like the seats and things like that through the tint?
Correct.
Okay. I'll take that back. Thank you. I know it doesn't show as well when we're looking at it on the Elmo with the glare, but even in Exhibit 86, we can see, for instance, the seat back through that rear window, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Also, on the front of that vehicle, of the Jeep, was there a sticker right in the corner?
There was, yes.
Okay. And again, when we look at 88, you're able to see through the Jeep into the back?
You can see through the Jeep towards the back of the garage there, yes.
Okay. And then that's the side of the, yeah, let me pull out, of the Jeep in Exhibit 89.
Correct.
Now, when you were at the residence on July 11th, was Alexander Cox also present?
He was.
And did he have a vehicle at that residence when you were there on July 11th?
He did. He had a Ford pickup truck.
And was that a 2017 Ford F-150?
Yes.
And you previously had looked at those photos, Exhibits 90 through 92. The state will move to admit those.
They're admitted without waiving objection.
Was Alexander Cox's truck located in the driveway of the residence?
Yes, it was.
And is this what we see here in Exhibit 90?
It is.
Exhibit 91, is that sort of show the side of the vehicle?
The passenger side, yes.
And then a further away in Exhibit 92?
Yeah, from a front view of the passenger side.
Did you, in being at that residence on July 11th, note that the Ford F-150 had an Arizona license plate, personalized one of CPQUINT?
That is correct.
At that time, did you learn Alex Cox's cell phone number was 480-351-9120?
Yes, I did.
And did you learn that Lori Vallow had a cell phone number of 808-755-5452?
Correct.
And did you later learn that Lori Vallow had another cell phone number of 480-692-9562?
Yes.
Did you ever obtain a search warrant for an iCloud account that was associated to Lori Vallow for loriforstyle@icloud.com?
I did.
Can you tell us how you were able to determine that that was associated to Lori Vallow?
So first and foremost, the phone number that is associated with the subscriber was a phone number linked to the defendant. In examining the content of that iCloud, I was able to locate photographs, videos, text messages, and emails, all linking the defendant to that iCloud.
What is an iCloud account?
So basically, an iCloud account, to put it simply, is a cloud account for Apple users. So anybody who's using an Apple device has the ability to store or back up data from their device to the cloud.
So when you obtained those iCloud records, did you get an affidavit authenticating those from Apple?
I did.
Show defendant, exhibits 184, 85, and 86. Did you review and look through all of those iCloud records?
Yes, I did.
In those records, did you see messages, text messages, or sometimes referred to as SMS messages, between Alex Cox and Lori Vallow?
I did.
Did you ever see any mention of, between those text messages, Lori Vallow providing her brother Alex Cox with an email or Gmail account address?
Yes, I did.
And if I can have my paralegal approach with 184 and 185. Is 184 the affidavit that was provided as part of that search warrant that you obtained for the Lori for Style at iCloud?
Yes, it is.
And is 185 the text messages that you just spoke about relating to the conversation between Alex Cox and Lori Vallow, where the email address is requested?
Yes, and that context or that communication is through phone.
Through phone.
Yeah.
State will move to admit Exhibit 184 and 185.
Just object to relevance, Your Honor.
184, 185 are admitted.
So on 185 here, is this sort of a report that's created to pull out these specific messages between the phone for Lori Vallow and Alex Cox?
Yes, that's correct.
Do we see on here that the source is the Lori for Style at iCloud account?
Yes.
Is this time and date for when this occurred?
Yes, so the time you see there is 3/10/2019 at 7:50 p.m. And the UTC -7 means that it has been adjusted to Arizona time.
Okay. And so on this one, we see that this is from Alex Cox to Lori Vallow?
Correct.
And that's one of the phone numbers that you previously testified to that you learned belonged to Lori Vallow?
Yes.
And that was one of the phone numbers that was in this iCloud account as being hers?
Yes.
So in this, do we see Alex Cox then requesting from Lori Vallow, hey, Lo, what's your new address?
You do?
And then does he, a little bit later, I guess, clarify email address?
Yes.
And then in the third line, do we see now from Lori Vallow to Alex Cox on March 10th of 2019 at 8:07 p.m., where she gives a lollytimeforever@gmail.com?
Correct.
When you were reviewing that iCloud account, you told us that a lot of different data is saved there. When someone has a cell phone and is having text messages coming in and out, or you're sending them out, are those some of the things that can be saved in an iCloud account?
Yes, they can.
In this case, did you recall seeing text messages between or from Brandon Boudreaux to Lori Vallow in her iCloud account?
I did.
Did those records reflect whether or not those messages were read or not?
They do, yes.
If I can have my paralegal approach with 186. Do you recognize those as text messages from Brandon Boudreaux to Lori Vallow on June 25th of 2019?
I do.
And do they reflect that Lori Vallow read those?
It does show a red date on there, yes.
State will move to admit 186.
Foundation objection, Your Honor.
What foundation's lagging?
The fact that, I don't know, foundation objection.
It's admitted.
If I may publish. So when we are looking at this, is this another sort of report made where you can pull out specific messages that are part of the hundreds or thousands of text messages that might have been saved in that iCloud account?
Yes, it is.
So again, as we're looking at this, this is Lori Vallow's iCloud account where we see it's to her, correct?
Correct.
And again, we see the Lori for Style at iCloud.
Yes.
And so the date of June 25th of 2019 at 6:46 p.m.
Correct.
And we see here a message. Can you tell us what that message was?
This is the content of the message. It was Brandon sending Lori a message also indicating that he had sent the same message to Charles as well about being accused of having or being involved in taking her temple recommend from her.
And does this show that Lori Vallow read that on June 25th at 8:19:57 p.m.?
It does.
Did you see additional messages from Brandon Boudreaux as the evening wore on to Lori Vallow?
Correct.
The next one being at 9:10 p.m.?
Yes.
And does that show that that was read by Lori Vallow at 10:08 p.m.?
Correct.
And then the final message sent by Brandon Boudreaux at 9:12 p.m.?
Correct.
And that was read at 10:08?
Yes.
Did you ever see any responses in the iCloud accounts from Lori Vallow back to Brandon Boudreaux with regards to this conversation?
I did not, no.
Did you ever learn that Alex Cox had moved to Rexburg, Idaho?
I did.
Did you ever learn that Lori Vallow had moved to Rexburg, Idaho?
Yes, I did.
Did you ever obtain a search warrant for an iCloud account, LollyTime at iCloud, that was associated to Lori Vallow?
I did.
How did you associate the LollyTime account to Lori Vallow?
Very similar to the Lori for Style. There was a phone number associated in the subscriber information that was linked to her, as well as looking at the content of the iCloud. There was emails, messages, videos, and pictures that would link that to her.
Was that LollyTime at iCloud account associated to one of Lori's cell phone numbers, the 480-692-9542 number?
Yes.
In that iCloud account, did you see photographs of Lori Vallow and her wedding with Charles Daybell in Hawaii?
I did.
Was that in November of 2019?
Yes, it was.
Like the other iCloud account, did you receive an affidavit authenticating those records?
I did.
As part of the iCloud records, we talked about text messages. Did the iCloud accounts also contain emails that were saved in the LollyTime at iCloud.com account?
There were emails, yes.
Did you note any emails between August 14th and October 1st that indicated that Lori Vallow had moved back to Rexburg, Idaho?
I did.
Did those text messages show her scheduling to see a unit at 565 Pioneer Road in Rexburg, Idaho?
They did.
Did they also show her emailing her payment to Blue Sky Properties Management Company for 565 Pioneer Road?
Yes, it did.
If I can have my paralegal approach with 187 and 188. section for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
So 187 was that the affidavit that was sent in relation to the Lolly Time at iCloud account.
Yes, it was.
And 188 is that a report of some of those emails that were saved in that Lolly Time iCloud account relating to that time period and Rexburg, Idaho, and the Blue Sky properties.
Yes, it is.
State will move to admit 187 and 188 into evidence.
Any objection?
Your Honor, could we have a sidebar? I have a question on that.
Why don't we go ahead and take our recess for the jury? We'll recess for approximately 15 minutes, and then we'll take that.
Yes.
And again, we know this is from the Lolly Time iCloud, both here from source as well as we see it over here.
Correct.
Now, did you also see emails from a Hilton, a hotel up in the Rexburg area in those iCloud records?
I did.
And so here do we see from August 15th, from the Hampton to the Lolly Time account, a confirmation.
Yes, you do.
And again, so we can see then on the 25th, we now are getting a receipt that was sent to her email from the Hampton Inn and Suites Rexburg.
Correct.
And again, that's sent to the Lolly Time iCloud account.
Yes.
So it appeared to be, when she checked out, the receipt being mailed to her.
Correct.
And then again, that same day, sort of another email, again from the Hampton Inn and Suites in Rexburg, sort of thanking her for choosing them.
Sure.
Did you then see on, let me open this up so we can see the date better. August 26th of 2019, again from that Blue Sky Property Management to the Lolly Time to sign your lease for Blue Sky Property Management.
Yes,
It
you
has
do.
a portal for her to go to.
Yes, you do.
And then again, more on the 26th of August, did you see more sort of the portal account is active for that Blue Sky Management?
Correct.
On October 26th, then at 11:44 a.m., again from that Blue Sky Property Management, do we see an email to the Lolly Time iCloud thanking her for her payment?
It was August 26th.
I'm sorry, August 26th of 2019, thanking her for the payment.
Yes, you do.
And then did you also see another email from, again, the Blue Sky Property Management, this one from October 1st, again to the Lolly Time, again thanking her for the payment?
Correct.
As part of your work as a police officer, were you also responsible for executing a search warrant to obtain phone records for a 515-402-0143?
Yes, I was.
When you were reviewing the Lolly Time at iCloud.com account, did you see text messages between Lori Vallow and that phone number, 515-402-0143?
Yes, I did.
Were those text messages romantic in nature often?
They were.
Did you ever, as a police officer, come into possession of a recording of Chad Daybell using the phone number 515?
Yes, that recording, he actually provided that number as his number.
So to your understanding, who was the person using the phone number 515-402-0143?
Chad Daybell.
And so then when you executed or you wrote a search warrant to obtain those phone records?
Yes, I did.
I can have my paralegal approach with Exhibit 181. Do you recognize those records that we see there from AT&T for the 515-402-0143?
Yes, the affidavit, yes.
So there's an affidavit from AT&T. Does it also contain some printout of the call detail records surrounding the time period of October 1st and 2nd?
Yes, it does.
And does it also contain a thumb drive of all of the records?
Yes, it does.
The state will move to admit 181.
Objection?
Just to the foundation again, if this was an actual phone extraction or this isn't an iCloud extraction, is that correct?
All right. You can cross him if you want to explore that. The exhibit's admitted.
Just to clarify, Detective, these records here in 181, these are phone records, cell site data, call detail records from AT&T relating to that phone number.
Yes, we'd refer to them as call data records. Without having the device in our hand, and just having a phone number, we would author a search warrant to that provider to ask them for what's called call detail records, which includes phone calls, text messages, cell tower data for a specific time.
Now, when we talk about text messages or call records, it doesn't have the recordings of the calls, right?
No, it does not.
And it doesn't have like the text messages, right?
No, it does not.
Just shows that when calls were made, the dates and times,
Correct.
when text messages may have been made, dates and times, as well as like what cell towers may have been used by the phone.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's what you're asking for when you issue a search warrant to obtain those cell phone records from AT&T for this number?
Yes.
Thank you. The state has no other questions for this witness.
All right, cross.
Detective Duncan, you said when you write the search warrant for Apple, then they return it through a portal or an email. Is that correct?
There's two ways. I've seen it done multiple ways. All of them are secure. There's sometimes if the files are too big, they'll ask us to send a hard drive to them. They'll put them on the hard drive and then send it back. Other times they'll just send it via email or a link that we'd go to.
Okay. So in this case of the lollytime@icloud.com that you wrote this affidavit for, what way did you get it? Was it the portal or the email?
I believe that one was through an email, yes.
So in one particular email, or is it come in multiple emails, or how does that work?
I don't know for certain on this particular case. It's come in one. It's another followed up email with a password to get into it, but I'm not 100% certain how this one came over.
Well, it came to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, but that was 5+ years ago, so I don't exactly know how it came over.
Okay, so you could look that up and see how many emails you got that were all related to lollytime@icloud.com, right?
I suppose I could reach out to Apple to ask them that question, yes. But I don't have a specific recollection of how many.
Correct. But you have your own email account. You could look that up, right?
I don't know if those emails I don't know if they've been erased after so many years, but I don't know if I'd have access to that right now.
Okay. So, just so I understand, The emails came that contained all of the information from Apple. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then you said the Cellbrite reader, will they send a computer, they send another report, which is a Cellbrite reader report. Is that correct?
No. So what happens is Apple sends it in a file. The best explanation is it's somewhat of a proprietary file that they send it to us in. And if I were to open that file, I would not be able to look at anything. So what has to happen is then we take that file and we send it to our computer crimes detectives, and they have access to the Cellbrite reader software. We ask them then to take that data that Apple gave us and put it into the Cellbrite reader, so then I can look at that and review that data.
And then how do you know that all the data ends up in that Cellbrite report?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question. That would be up to the detective that actually downloaded that from the file from Apple into the Cellbrite.
So a detective could just basically pull the information they want and put it on a report from Cellbrite. Is that correct?
I suppose that that could happen, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, but you have no way to verify if that's all the information or not, is what you just explained to me. Is that correct?
True.
So you have no access to, even though it was sent to you on an email, you have no access to open that at all.
Correct. I mean, I can open it, but it would not, I wouldn't be able to understand anything of it. It would just be a whole bunch of random characters and numbers until you put it into the Cellbrite reader.
So why do they send it to you if they could send it directly to the detectives that are going to extract it?
Because I'm the one that authored the search warrant, and so they send that data to the specific person that authored the search warrant.
And then you send it off to the person who's going to make the report.
Correct. I make a request to have it transferred into Cellbrite so I could read it.
And then who was the person that you sent that to that actually made the report for you to look at?
I don't know if I have that person's name on top of my head. I want to say it was Detective Hunsaker, but I'm not sure if he did that one or another one.
And that was for the lolly time, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so you have no way of knowing what you're receiving in that report, if that's the full entire iCloud account or
I
not.
would have no reason to believe it isn't.
But you have no way to verify it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So from what you get, you can only take out from what, you can only review what you receive from this other detective. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then as far as not having a phone and having this AT&T record,
Correct.
you get the AT&T record, you put a search warrant for that. Is that
Yes.
correct? So you just give them the phone number and
Correct.
and you find out whatever Verizon or AT&T or whatever.
So we have abilities, we have programs, we can put a number in and see which service provider holds that number.
Okay.
Then we can write the search warrant to that particular service provider. In this case, you would ask for a date range, and you'd ask for certain things such as cell tower locations, SMS data, which is text messaging, phone calls, incoming, outgoing. So there's a laundry list of things you can ask for, and those are called call detail records. That also will include subscriber records as to who owns the phone.
Okay. And what call detail records did you specifically request on your search warrant for this phone number 515-402-4143?
I'd have to refer to the search warrant to know that.
What were you looking for?
Specifically, any kind of calls during this time frame, tried to identify who this particular person is that you were communicating with, and location data, and like I said, to identify this person.
And how can you verify that all of the information that comes from AT&T is all the information from the phone?
I put trust in AT&T that that's what they would send me.
But if you don't have the phone, how do you verify that information is accurate?
Once again, I base my trust on AT&T that they're sending everything for that particular number that I'm requesting.
So if messages are deleted, text messages are deleted, you would have no way of knowing that if they didn't send you the deleted text messages?
That's a possibility, yes.
Okay. And if things were out of order, you wouldn't have any way of knowing text messages that were out of order as well, would you?
What do you mean by out of order?
Like, when things go up into the cloud and they're designated a number, a text message that you delete goes up into the cloud and they're designated a number. And when you download that iCloud account, those deleted messages get filled in these different numbers, and then you end up with a report that has text messages in the wrong place at the wrong time. They fill in when you download iCloud.
Yeah.
So I wondered if that was similar to the AT&T report that you're receiving. You would have no way of knowing if some of these were taken out of context.
That would be a question more for somebody who handles that type of information. I wouldn't have any information on that.
Okay. So like a cell phone expert.
Correct.
Okay. And you don't qualify yourself as a cell phone expert?
No.
Just a person who asks for the search warrants?
Correct.
So in your search warrant that you asked for on this 515 number, you said you can get text messages, call detail records, that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then did you say that the text messages don't come in, just the time and dates of the text messages?
Each carrier is different.
Okay.
There are some carriers that will retain text messages for a certain amount of time. If you do what's called a preservation for a particular number and preserve the information that's coming up with the anticipation of a search warrant at a later date, then that carrier will save those actually specific text messages. However, it's after the fact and they've already erased those, or they've outdone their period of holding those, then they won't be there. Just the fact that a text message or an SMS or what's called an MMS, which is a video or a picture, that it was sent. But the actual content would not be there if it's outside of that period of retention.
Okay. And for AT&T, do you know what that time of retention is?
I don't.
Basically? Okay. So you're relying basically on AT&T and whatever information they have currently available when you do the search warrant. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then that comes to you. So in this particular case, how did you receive that information from AT&T directly?
I believe that was via email as well.
Okay. And does that email come in its own report? It doesn't have to be put into Cellbrite, or it does?
That one will come in its own report. There's several. There's a spreadsheet. There's also a PDF file. There's a lot of different files that come with it and how to read it. But we can also take that data and put it into a Cellbrite reader to actually better review that particular data rather than just looking at it through a spreadsheet.
Okay. So did you send that spreadsheet to your same guy so that he could put it into a Cellbrite reader?
I don't remember if I did that or not, no.
Okay. Did you ever look at it on the Cellbrite reader, the report of this number, 515-402-4143?
I did not on the Cellbrite reader, no.
So do you remember looking at it and the report that came to you in an email?
Do I remember looking at that report?
Right.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So you looked at it from the email that came to you directly?
Yes, and we have many ways that we can examine these data sets, if you would. We do use another program I refer to as Nighthawk, where I can just take those records that particular provider gave me and dump it into the system, and it'll read it in a timeline format for me, and then it's easier to read, if you would.
And how accurate do you think that organization is? It takes all the data and organizes it, or can it pick and choose?
I've never had any issues with it.
Yeah, but do you compare it to the original once you see the report?
I will. I'll go back and look at the original to make sure it exists, yes.
Okay. And how long of a period of time do you think that you spent personally reviewing the lollytime@icloud.com report from Cellbrite?
I would estimate hundreds of hours.
And how much time would you have spent reviewing this report from AT&T on this 515 number?
Not as much, because there wasn't that much information that came over with it.
And earlier you had testified that there were call detail records, so times and length of calls, is that correct?
For the AT&T?
Correct.
Yes.
But not just the calls, and then the text messages, there was also times, but not actual text messages?
Correct.
So you have no text messages from that entire phone extraction download?
From that particular extraction, I don't. However, you can link those messages and times of when, say that 0143 number texted your lolly time, and your lolly time will retain that content of the message. If that makes sense. So you have the content of the message between you and that number in the lolly time account, but if you reflect that date and time, it'll also show that date and time in the AT&T records.
So did you compare that lolly time account with this 515 number
Yes.
side by side so you could see what the text messages were saying?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then on your, did you make a report about this yourself?
On which one?
Do you make a report regularly on, say, you spent hundreds of hours reviewing this, so did you make a report specifically on lolly time
I
account?
have a very lengthy report that I wrote, yes, regarding my interpretation of that data, yes.
And did you make a report on this other assessment that you made on the 515 number?
Correct.
And it's probably not as lengthy.
Well, it's all incorporated into one report,
Oh, it's all in one report?
yes.
Are there other numbers that are on that report or other iCloud accounts?
Yes, there are.
How many?
I believe there might be 2 additional iCloud accounts or 1 additional iCloud account.
And so your report would just incorporate all of those together? Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay. And about when did you make that report? Do you remember it all?
I do not.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Redirect?
So detective, when you write a search warrant, you provide that to a judge, right?
Correct.
You have to provide a probable cause statement.
Yes.
And basically, the court then orders someone like AT&T or Apple to provide the data you're requesting based upon that probable cause.
Correct.
And then, depending on the size of the data being stored by the agency, you receive it in different ways.
Correct.
For something like AT&T, a phone record, does AT&T keep things like when calls are made and when calls are received in the normal course of their business?
Yes, they do.
Is that why you're able to write a search warrant to obtain those records?
Yes, it is.
So this is just something that all cell phone companies do?
Yes.
And do they all keep things like cell tower data? What cell towers you're using when you're making those phone calls?
Yes, they do.
And when people send or receive text messages or MMS messages?
Correct.
So you're basically, you know what these cell phone companies do, and then you write a search warrant for it?
Correct.
You were asked about Cellbrite. Is that sort of a software that is used to help organize data that is sent pursuant to these search warrants by someone, we'll say Apple?
Yes, it is.
Is Cellbrite a software used by police departments across the country,
It is.
as well as other law enforcement and other agencies?
Yes.
When you are talking about forensic detectives using Cellbrite for these iCloud or Apple Clouds or other digital media, is this something that forensic detectives do hundreds of times, thousands of times a year?
Yes, it is.
Do those forensic detectives know anything about the case?
I prefer they don't know anything about it, and that they just simply make the Basically, it's like a translation of the data and not review anything and just take it from the format that it is given to me to the Cellbrite so I can review it.
Do they do any type of analysis of that data?
No, they do not.
So they would have no way to know what might be relevant or not relevant to allegedly, I guess, secret away some things and not provide that to you?
Correct.
So they just get this data, they use a very standard software and put it into a format that allows you more ease to read it?
Correct. I will also give them a copy of the search warrant. There's nothing about the report in there or the case being investigated. But what it'll have is things that the judge allowed pursuant to that search warrant. So say if the judge did not allow or it didn't include information about a calendar, then I shouldn't get that information. And so the detective that does that will then review that and carve out or exclude items that I should not have to be able to see.
So in this case, what we've talked about so far are two different iCloud accounts, the Lori for Style at iCloud account,
Yes,
and then the Lolly Time at iCloud account.
correct.
And you spent hundreds of hours, you said, on at least one of them?
Correct.
How much time did you spend on the other one?
Probably hundreds of hours.
So would it be fair to say there was a really lot of data that was sent to you by Apple for each of those search warrants?
Yes, there was.
Thousands and thousands of pages?
Correct.
And you went through all of that to locate information that was relevant?
Yes.
I have no other questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Are there any questions from any member of the jury? All right, I don't see any. You can step down, sir.
Thanks, sir.